Pokemon as of late are some of the most boring, repetitive, hand-holdy, and technically unimpressive games on the market right now. Now that I've lost all the Pokemaniacs within the first 5 seconds of this video, let me get something off my chest. I actually like Pokemon, not modern Pokemon. Hell no, those games are still as unimpressive as ever. But old Pokemon? Hell yeah. Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 5 was at its peak, and I don't think Game Freak will ever be able to recapture the magic of those games ever again. This isn't nostalgia either. I played Pokemon Gold and Ruby for the first time last year and had a much more enjoyable and memorable experience than this garbage. But let's go back to a minute. Back to the generations of old. The year is 2004, and Pokemon Red and Blue have been out for 8 years by this point. Okay, so really we're going back to 1996. These two games are some of the best and most influential games of all time. Are these games perfect? Hell no. Are they well programmed? Are you looking at the screen right now? Well, yes, these games were held together with the equivalent of band-aids and glue sticks. That wasn't the point of the games and what made them fun. Well, for me at least. It was that sense of exploration, the music, the easy to pick up but hard to master gameplay, and of course, the Pokemon themselves. These little bastards are ingrained in everyone's minds for a reason. I mean, who could forget such classics as Charizard, Gengar, Rock with Arms, Spoon Man, and my personal favorite, Stickbird. Red and Blue had it all. Yet at the end of the day, the Pokemon can't save the fact that these games still have a lot of jank and technical issues. So what if Game Freak did something like, I don't know, what is that called when you remake it? Oh, remake them! Okay, so back to 2004 now. Pokemon FireRed and Leaf Green, but more specifically FireRed because that's the one I played the most, are some of the best games I've ever played and hands down some of the best Pokemon games ever made. Period. It takes everything that made the first generation so special and adds onto it with stuff that was worth keeping from Ruby and Sapphire. Now first things first, what actually makes these games masterpieces? Well, in order to explain that, I must explain what made the first game so great. So, it's time for a Burbus history dump. Pokemon Red and Blue are the kind of games where you can leave your house without talking to your mom, walk into grass, get ambushed and killed by a rat, and spawn outside the hospital without any explanation. It's absolutely beautiful and I love it. The first Pokemon games are the kind where they tell you barely anything with almost no hand-holding. You want to know how to catch a Pokemon? Alright, I hear you brother, here's some Pokeballs, figure it out my guy. Oh, what's that? You can't beat the first gym because you chose Charmander at the beginning because you wanted to be the cool kid like everyone else in school? Tough luck my guy, go catch a freaking Butterfree or something, I ain't your dad, go figure it out. You may call that bad game design, but me? I call it a fun time. Figuring things out in video games is half the fun of them to me. Of course, games do need tutorials in them, obviously, but make them a separate game mode from the game itself, or seamlessly incorporate it into gameplay. The best kind of tutorials in games are the ones where you don't even realize there's a tutorial there at all and just start playing, slowly figuring out the game mechanics as you go. Red and Blue doesn't stop you like the new games nowadays to do some bullshit like, alright, watch this cutscene, no you can't skip it, make your character, watch a cutscene, leave your house, watch another cutscene, get your starter Pokemon, watch a cutscene, enter a new area, watch a cutscene, are you getting what I'm saying now? In the first game, you name your character, name your rival, get your starter, do a battle to learn the mechanics, and boom, you're in the world of Pokemon. Congratulations, try to get further than Oak ever did. Now, where does this all fall into Pokemon Fire Red? Well, remember when I said how many minutes ago that the first two games were held together by glue and band-aids? Well, Fire Red keeps everything that made the first game so special while fixing a lot of the core game's issues. No more will you find Missing No, go to a glitched city, fight whatever this is, and explore the game's file system to teleport you to the end of the game. Man, Red and Blue glitches were wild. There are a couple of things that Fire Red did to help the shit-eating toddlers that couldn't beat the first game, though. The old man near the exit of Viridian City that I always ignored in the original will stop you to teach you how to catch a Pokemon, and you will enjoy it, my friend. As well as Oak will tell you the obvious that hurting Pokemon will make them faint. Thanks, Oak. I was peeing in my sweatpants this entire time, so I appreciate the assistance. Gen 3 is when they really started up the hand-holding. Not to a massive extreme, but a noticeable one. You have the help menu you can access anytime by pressing left or right bumper, and the old man gives you a TV that teaches you how to play the game you already knew how to play. Thanks, Pokey Dude. If that even is your real name. Anywho, let's start Fire Red now, shall we? When we first start the game, we get this message from the devs. In the world which you are about to enter, you will embark on a grand adventure with you as the hero. Speak to people and check things wherever you go, be it towns, roads, or caves. Gather information and hints from every source. Through your adventure, we hope that you will interact with all sorts of people and achieve personal growth. That is our biggest objective. I love when games do this stuff. It reminds us of all the talented people who make games like this, and it shows passion before we even start the game. We then get the pep talk from Oak, choose our sexual preference, name ourselves and our rival, then set out on our Pokemon adventure. Now, as a remake, what does FireRed offer that the originals don't? Well, first off, just look at it. The game is built off the Ruby and Sapphire engine, so it has all its quirks and charms. The inventory is much better in the remake. You have actual columns and submenus compared to the unorganized shit show that was the first game. Berries also make their way in, which is a nice addition, as well as dual special stats, natures, genders, an EXP bar in battle. Enemy Pokemon actually run out of PP and no longer prioritize super effective moves, so the game feels much more fair a lot of the time. As well as double battles make it in, because those are definitely fun and not annoying in the slightest. But overall, Gen 1 is still here under this game, and that's what I love most about it. It takes most of what makes Gen 3 amazing and adds Gen 1 to it to create this near masterpiece of an experience. It's still got most of what made Gen 1 special though, even its disadvantages and wacky shit. Fighting and rock types still ain't the best. Psychic types completely outclass almost every other type in the game. The Pokemon variety in caves and water are really lackluster. Bug types just suck, and HM still exists for all the 99% of people who hate those. Okay, I don't get all this HM hate. HMs are tied to game progression. They're moves that also work like perks to access new areas. What's not to like about that? Oh no, I have to sacrifice a move slot to make room for cut. Well then you get your ass down to Route 1, cat yourself a rat, and cut down the goddamn tree with the rat! Not to say HMs are perfect though, I can obviously see the arguments being made against them, especially when you find an area you want to go to, but you either A, don't have the Pokemon with you that have the HMs, or B, just don't have the HM to begin with. But I personally enjoy HMs because it adds a layer of game progression in not one, but two ways, making the overall experience feel more engaging to me. Speaking of engaging, the battles. This game nails that shit. Later games would overcomplicate the battles with shit like double battles, triple battles, and whatever the hell rotation battles were, but FireRed stays with the simplicity of the first game. No useless features or gimmicky bullshit, just you and your opponent, as things should be. A lot of weird oversights with the combat were also fixed in this game, like focus energy being broken, hyper beam needing no recharge if you KO someone, counters being really wonky, dire hits not working, as well as during damage calculation, the game will eventually attempt to divide by 0. This causes the game to freeze indefinitely. God, these games really were held together by glue. I feel like a big reason why these games still sell like hotcakes even after almost 30 years is because Game Freak has perfected its combat formula and stuck with it for so long. FireRed was released in a time when Pokemon was still fresh and innovative, so naturally it feels much better to play than the modern games that feel like they're squeezing as many unnecessary features into the game as possible. Of course, at the end of the day, this is still a Pokemon game, even after all the praise I've been giving it. You may have noticed that some of this gameplay looks a little faster than normal. That's because I use speed hacks. This game loves to waste your time, just like all Pokemon games really. You'll spend a shit ton of time sitting in menus, dialogue, and God forbid if you or your opponent have status effects in combat, you'll be sitting through a Book of Mormon's worth of dialogue. Or if I want to cut down a tree or surf, they first ask me if I want to do the thing I just told them I want to do, and then play this dumbass animation. Like, come on, Game Freak, can we speed things up here a bit? Maybe it's just my ADHD-riddled fucked up brain, but I can't stand how slow this game can be at some points. You spend tons of time waiting for Pokemon to be caught, waiting for random encounters to start, waiting to find the Pokemon you want, and waiting for eggs to hatch. My only real downside with this game is just how slow it is, and it's why using speed hacks in an emulator are really enticing to me. Don't hate the player, guys. Hate the game. I mean, you can hate me, just don't be mean about it. But Pokemon has that kind of combat and gameplay formula where even after all the waiting for shit to happen, I can't stop playing this game. Please help me. Catching Pokemon, battling, leveling up, and exploring never gets old to me, and I think that's a huge strength of this game. Kanto is big, but not too big. You can easily find your way around, and I never felt confused on where to go next unless the game wants you to feel confused in its puzzles or caves. Especially since Game Freak added this fucking pre-game previously on Dragon Ball Z thing that makes it easy to understand where to go next. Now, where you go to in this game is also amazing. I'm really good at transitions, I swear. Let's talk about the locations. Of course, you got the small town vibes of Pallet Town and Viridian City, the ports and oceans of Vermilion and Cinnabar Island, as well as the bustling city vibes of Saffron and Celadon. The remake makes all these classic locations stand out a lot more and are much more memorable because of it. Like, look at Saffron City in FireRed compared to the original. It's like a night and day difference. And of course, who could forget Lavender Town, a place so memorable people wrote shitty creepypastas about it back in the day. Oh yeah, that and the dead Pokemon. Of course, you can't talk about the locations without talking about the music as well. Pokemon has that kind of effect that Sonic games do, where even if the games are god-awful, the guys over in the music department are just out here making bangers left and right. I love how as soon as you step outside, you get that beautiful music by Junichi Masuda. The first game also had good music, but in my opinion, the remake's music is much better. All the tracks were remixed from the originals and sound like how Game Freak wanted them to in Red and Blue, and the Game Boy Advance really makes the soundtracks hit much harder, especially during battles. I love how the soundtrack matches almost every single area you visit perfectly, like how Pallet Town sounds very calming and welcoming, a perfect vibe to set in an open area. Then when you step out into Route 1, the soundtrack changes to match that sense of adventure you're about to go on. When you first get to Viridian Forest, the place is supposed to feel like this confusing maze, so the soundtrack matches that with its slow and uncanny vibes. Or way later in the game when you arrive at Silphco, the place is taken over by Team Rocket and is a mess with people panicking, and the soundtrack matches that to a fucking T. And of course, you can't forget about Lavender Town. I don't care what people say about this theme is fucking cursed, okay? It's so fitting and it sends shivers down my spine every time I hear it, even as a 21-year-old man. FireRed also adds these new locations called the Sevi Islands. They're pretty alright and have a couple good side quests attached to them, and even have their own good music with its tropical vibes that I just can't get enough of. But other than the Pokemon Moltres, there's really no reason to come back here, except for the post-game content, baby! FireRed, like most Pokemon games, really shines in the post-game content. When or if you collected 60 Pokemon, not only do you get access to the rest of the Sevi Islands, but you also get access to the National Dex, adding a whole new part to the game. It's kinda like playing 2 games in 1, honestly. Like, you beat your rival and you think it's over, but then Oak comes up to you and says, hey, you're not done yet. The post-content revolves around the Sevi Islands and is pretty intriguing. Basically, after you beat Blaine's gym, Bill stops you and says, hey man, Game Freak added a new location to Kanto, let's explore this shit. You go there via boat to meet this man named Celio, who's trying to establish a link between his PC and Bill's. He wants us to get a meteorite from the sky at the nearby game corner, but oh no, his daughter is missing. What will we ever do? We go to 3 Island to find her, but see the local crackheads harassing a store owner. We beat them, make it to the forest, find the girl, give her back to the dad, retrieve the meteorite, and leave the islands. Mission accomplished, good work. After we beat the Elite Four and have at least 60 Pokemon to our name, we can head back to the islands to explore new areas and Pokemon with the new side quest to go on. Remember that Celio guy? He wants us to collect a Ruby and, Sapphire. Very cool, Game Freak. To power his machine that'll connect PCs from Kanto and Hoenn together. In order to do this, you'll have to go to the other islands and read Braille. You know, Braille. The text for blind people? But if you're playing this game, then how would you read it? I genuinely don't know how people figured this out back in the day. Like, did they just go up to their blind grandma and say, please grandma, I need your help, I gotta know the lore! Another thing I love about FireRed is that it just fixes all the jank from the first game and lets you play the game as intended. For the most part. Yeah, FireRed isn't free from glitches and exploits. This is a Game Freak game after all. We all knew this was coming. Those fancy Gen 3 and Gen 2 Pokemon they added? Well, if the post-game happens and you happen to encounter Raikou or Entei in the wild grass and they use Roar, they'll just disappear from the game forever. Or, let's say you have 2 hours to kill. You can go to Nugget Bridge, defeat everyone except for the last trainer, get the nugget from him, lose intentionally, and you'll notice that you still have that nugget he gave you. Repeat this process of absolutely sucking dick for 2 hours and you'll be a millionaire in no time. Absolutely incredible programming, Game Freak never changed. But overall, FireRed is pretty glitch-free unless you're actively looking for glitches. Pokemon FireRed was released in a time where Pokemon was inescapable. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire released a couple years prior and would set the basis for this incredible remake. I honestly feel like I owe all my love for FireRed to Ruby and Sapphire. Those games are also masterpieces that could get a video on their own at some point. I mean, in what other E-rated game can you summon a godlike being, fight environmental terrorists, and battle this fucking twink? Over the years, I would play more and more Pokemon games, mainline and spin-off, and you wanna know the real kicker? Almost none of these games can match the feeling of being welcomed into a digital world like Pokemon FireRed did all those years ago. When I play Pokemon FireRed, I feel like the game and I have this certain trust, that trust being my own intelligence. Sure, I may not be the smartest in real life. God damn it. But Gens 1 through 3 wasn't afraid to let the player go off the beaten path, let them create their own adventure with the tools that the game gave them. When I play any of the modern Pokemon games, say from X and Y to Scarlet and Violet, I don't feel like this guy who's going on his own grand adventure. I feel like a dumb, stupid little kid without object permanence. If Pokemon really wants to evolve and innovate their formula, they need to start treating their players like functioning adults with a full frontal lobe. Take something as simple as the opening of Pokemon FireRed compared to, let's say, Pokemon Sun. What took less than 5 minutes in FireRed to start exploring the world at your own pace gets turned into this almost 18-minute exchange of cutscene after cutscene after cutscene and cutscenes and cutscenes, and god damn it, I just want to play the game already, and oh no, I died of boredom in the process. You think with the bajillions of dollars that Game Freak makes every year with Pokemon, they'd be able to make games that don't look like this, that don't treat me like a shit-eating toddler, or make me sit through hours of dialogue without any voice acting, might I add. Come on, Game Freak, it's 2025, get with the program already. Although, even after all this bitching I've been doing, I can still admit that Pokemon does still have potential, though. I mean, look at Legends Arceus, for example. Sure, it wasn't perfect, far from it in fact, but at least it actually felt like something new, and Game Freak actually somewhat listened, even if it didn't really land for me. Overall, the message I'm trying to get across with this video is, this game is so goddamn good, please play it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Pokemon can actually feel fun and innovative, but it's really fucking ironic that a game from over 20 years ago feels more innovative than all the slop we've been getting recently. Hopefully when Legends ZA comes out, I'll finally feel like how I did all those years ago when I first booted up FireRed. But despite what this video may have been telling you, I actually want these games to be good. I actually want to have fun with every single one that I play and have it be this big moment in gaming for me. But when you make billions every year off of merchandise and your games come out looking like this, I'm sorry, but I can't take you seriously anymore. Anywho, this fucking stupid video has gone on for way longer than even Game Freak spends on making their games, so I'm gonna end this here. My name is Burbus, and thank you for watching.
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon.
Those are not the names of the Pokemon. Let's try it again, you fucking moron.
Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon.